You're listening to Passion Project, and I'm your host, Kat Margulis. Hey, you guys, welcome to Passion Project. I'm your host, Kat Margulis, and today's guest is Stephanie Marshall of Plaid Paddle Coaching. So, Steph and I met, our parents set us up on a blind date coffee, I think it was about 9 years ago. Uh, they were neighbors, lived across the hall from each other in the condo, and discovered that both their daughters worked for the same company in the same building. And so they set us up, and we had a really great time. And then I had twins, and I never saw her again. Until last summer, I found out she was coaching and asked her out to a coffee. We caught up and had a really, really great time. And she read me like a book. And I was like, I need to get you on this podcast. You have to speak to these people. And you also have to talk to me more and help me more. So let me tell you about Stephanie. Stephanie is a feminist life coach of the Transformation Mindset Success Variety, a speaker and founder of Plaid Paddle Coaching. She coaches interesting women who have decided that they want to take control and change something or multiple things in their life, either in one-on-one sessions or in group programs. Stephanie is also the co-founder of Kickstartology, a women-centered platform for group coaching, workshops, and events. Stephanie loves stirring the pot, encouraging people to get out of their comfort zone, and leading people to get what they really want, not what they think they should want. Previously, Stephanie worked in the digital content marketing and strategy space as an independent consultant in the agency world and in the media sector. She has an MBA from Schulich, but so do a lot of people. It's more interesting to note that she is in a band and loves hanging out with cows and alpacas when it comes up. Hey, Steph, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm all excited about this.
I am too. I had so much fun meeting you for coffee last summer, and God, you set off so many alarm bells in my head, and you really read me. So I'm
Oh,
just
good.
so excited to dive into some of the stuff that I think is really going to apply to a lot of people who are listening today. But first of all, like we both came from media, and you are so brilliant. So when I found out you were coaching, I'm like, of course, this makes total sense. But still. You went from digital guru, extraordinaire to coach. How did you end up here?
Very slowly,
Yeah.
I would actually say. In actual fact, what it was is I was bored, is a piece of it. And I've been making some pivots kind of based on what I thought I should do with the education I had.
Mhm.
Um, but what that led to is little changes one at a time. And also, I made so many mistakes, which is fabulous because I get to use my own personal life for examples when I'm coaching. And I've made so many messy decisions. So I should have been here really probably 10 or 15 years ago had I had a coach earlier. But I'd say the big thing that matters why I'm here is I've always cared more about the humans that I like than about driving shareholder value. And
Aha.
now I get to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, you were in a way coaching brands and products, to fruition before. So that's really cool. So you work with all kinds of people right now. They're entrepreneurs, they're artists, they're everything. Is there a commonality there in what they're grappling with and what you help them with?
Well, it's really interesting. I've actually found that no matter how different the clients might seem, you never know who's going to have a lot of things in common.
Uh-huh.
And so much of it has to do with how they're seeing the world and what's holding them back. And it's
Mhm.
figuring out their operating system, well, helping them figure it out so that they can then use it and go forward. But everyone's got these, like, you never know who's going to be alike in certain ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's our assumptions about the world, other times it's about themselves. Some people know what they want, they just can't seem to get themselves into action.
Yeah.
Other people, all they do is they're in action, but they're not really going towards something they want.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. That's crazy. Those are so interesting, and they're so different. Yeah, like with that first one that, like I feel like we know these people, right? With that first one, what is the thing that holds them back or what's the thing getting in their way?
The people who don't know what they want are the people who know what they want but can't get into action.
Yes, they can't get into action people.
A lot of the time, people get caught in the whole rumination and research phase. So they might think, you know what, I think I'd love to do this.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to research it a bit more. And they're like, I'm really busy, but I'm going to research this when I have time.
Yeah.
And they never actually take the step to get into action, and because they feel like they need to know exactly what it is they're going to go towards, and they also think that they need to know exactly how they're going to pull it off. We have this weird thing as adults where often adults think it's totally reckless to go towards something unless they know exactly how they're going to do it. So it's unsafe,
Yeah.
and it's going to feel unsafe, and that's why.
Yeah. And, oh my god, that's so awesome. I love that so much. And then what about the people who, I love that idea that there are people out there that are doing all kinds of things and they're never getting anywhere. They're just sort of treading water. What's up with them?
Well, it can be one of two things. Sometimes people are going towards a goal or trying to create something that they don't actually want,
Oh.
and they think they should want it.
Mm,
And I'm not going to lie, I've been in this situation when I was in the corporate world a few times, and I thought, oh, I should want the next rung on the totem pole.
totally.
Um, but I was a little bit bored by that. So I bitch about having to do some of the PowerPoints and be like, no, 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 all we do is talk about this and that. It doesn't even matter. But I wasn't even stopping to say, well, if I don't think the PowerPoint is the best way to do this, what can I do that's going to have value?
Mhm.
And I might get into reactive mode in my email, or I might spend more time on meetings than I had to because I enjoyed the people.
Mm,
And I might be really busy, or I focused a lot on different phases. Like, hey, I was going to the gym every day and working out, and I think it's really important to take care of yourself and be busy.
mm,
But it was more like I was doing all of these little things instead of saying, hey,
mm.
what's something different that I actually want to do, and what's the action I can take for that specifically. Also, sometimes people are avoiding doing the scary stuff, but you're going to have to do new things if you want to create something new.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. I totally love that. And the thing that you got me with last summer, and I had not heard this term before, was white knuckling. And I just like was like, oh my God, my mind was blown. And I feel like I'm getting away from that. But maybe explain to our listeners what white knuckling is.
Okay, first of all, you need to raise the bar on what it takes to blow your mind. But second of all, I'm going to give you an example actually, because that's the best way to do it. And again, let's use one of mine. I spent years saying, I'm not a morning person. I hate mornings. I can't do mornings, blah, blah, blah. And I do go to bed late. I'm actually very irresponsible about going to bed, which is a typical ADD thing.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing is I realized that I need to go to bed at an earlier time because I need to sleep better, because being tired is taking away from my business.
Yeah.
I'm a bit slower. It makes me more prone to burnout. It means I'm not as likely to work out, which gives me energy. I may make bad food decisions, right? So on and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So I decided that going to a really early morning yoga class would force me to go to bed.
Oh.
Now, when like my mother was like, "I'm sorry, you're doing what? Sorry, who are you?" Right? Like this is not in my wheelhouse at all.
Yeah.
So, I had 2 ways of approaching it. Number 1, really locking down and knowing I'm not a morning person, but you know what? I'm stubborn and I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And just being like, "Okay, I'm gonna do. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow, go to yoga," right? Like fist clenched. That's the
Yes.
white knuckle, and force myself to go. And when you're trying to create a change in your life that way, you might power through it for a while,
Mhm.
but it's actually going to reinforce how difficult you think it is
Mm.
and close your mind to other possibilities and make it even harder. So, really, what I've been trying to do is say, well, what's awesome about this? And no, I'm not really expecting that I'm going to spring out of bed and jump and be like, yay, the world is mine, and,
Mhm.
frolic like a girl in a tampon commercial, right? But it's about kind of saying, okay, what's okay about this? And what do I like? And just right away trying to think about why is this okay, and not tell everyone I hate mornings and I'm doing this and it's impossible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's been okay. Some mornings are better than others, but
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 3 weeks now. So yeah,
Very cool.
white
Very
knuckle
cool.
change never lasted for me.
And now, I mean, you're coaching, so you obviously believe in coaching. That was the thing I was just chatting with earlier with my call with Andrea, which is like I was my sister started having a coach, and I was kind of against it. I was reluctant. I'm like, I can do it. Like I'm capable. You know what I mean?
I do.
And then I met my future coach, and I was and now I'm totally like, this is awesome. And now that I'm in it, I meet all kinds of people who have coaches. So, what was like
Mhm.
this whole concept for you of coaching? Like, were you like, did you meet somebody? And you're like, oh my god, you have a coach? Oh, I can be a coach. Like, how did that all happen?
I stumbled across it by accident, but I will tell you that I still actually struggle to say I'm a life coach because I think of someone who's like 18 years old with crystals in their pocket and they're saying, "Hey, I really like talking to people and I didn't really want to know what I wanted to do when I grew up," right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are some brilliant coaches with crystals who are 18, so not slagging them. But the thing is, I tried to find more serious terms for it in the
Yeah.
past, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, the tools I use can be applied to business as well as your personal life, your career, anything. So it really is life coaching, and every single coach is different.
Yeah.
I stumbled across it, and like you, I also thought, well, maybe that sounds great. I just need to do these 5 things first. What I didn't realize is a coach is often the reason that, first of all, it might tell you, actually, you don't need to do those 5 things. Or it might be like, get you to do those 5 things,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So that all those people are like, I really want to work with you. I just need to do these 3 things first. 9 times out of 10, they're never going to be ready for a coach because that's the way they live their life,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So,
And so when you meet people and they recognize they need somebody to take them to the next level or to help them push forward with something. Um what do you find when it comes to like passion projects and whether it's like okay, now they want to be an entrepreneur, that now they want to be a writer or whatever it is. What do you think is the thing that they struggle with uh as far as like pursuing something that maybe seems unrealistic? I don't know. Or just not like the sensible 9 to 5 thing.
well, I'd say there are a few different things. A lot of it, like when you say, like, what is it that they want? First of all, knowing it's not a pass fail thing. Like, I have done this. No, I've not. Now, this sounds really cheesy. And if you had told me 5 years ago that I was going to say this, I might have been like, "Ugh, not listening to that woman's podcast." But here's the thing there's this big question. It's like, how do you want to live and who do you want to be?
Yeah.
And that sounds so big that you can't answer it. But the truth is, that you better figure out what you want. And if you don't really want it, like, first of all, I'd say don't even bother, right?
Yeah.
But if you have that whole question of who do you want to be and how you want to live, you can choose a goal that aligns with that and then go towards it. And it's okay if you pivot, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say number one, make sure it's something you want. Number two, make sure there's alignment. And that's part of the reason I want you to know and have a sense of who you want to be and all of that, because that needs to be tied down to the goals that you set, to your habits on a daily basis, all that stuff you do consistently. You can't cram for these things, unfortunately. And
Yeah.
also what you think about. And actually, the third thing I'm just going to throw in there is progress over perfection.
Mm.
I struggled with that one. I struggled with all of these, which is so convenient now as a coach. I catch it way faster than others.
That's
That and
awesome.
finding loopholes. I am so good at finding loopholes.
So, for me, when it comes to like when I think passion project, I'm thinking about, little girl dreams, big girl dreams, something you always wanted to do that you never dare to. I feel like dare is a really essential ingredient that, people
Mhm.
need to have, and they shy away from. Like, is that something that you encounter? Just like the permission people give each other or give themselves to try something?
Absolutely. I actually, if you look at the word settling,
Ooh.
right? We tell people stop settling, but at the same time, we say, well, when you grow up and settle down. So
Oh,
I think there's this whole idea that people think, well, I'm an adult now, and it would be reckless for me to do something that isn't on the path that I've started to forge.
totally.
But if you look at the way the world is going and the opportunities and the way knowledge is out there for us to consume, right? You don't need to go to school to learn everything the way you did or as
Yeah.
much as you did in the past. You can just Google it and find almost anything.
Yeah.
So, but people are still a bit stuck in the old way of doing things. And when you're an adult, you're not allowed to make huge changes. So,
Yes.
part of what I work with them is actually very often they'll come to me with one goal and then it winds up being way more exciting to them
Yeah.
really soon. And once they realize what they want, but also what they're allowed to want.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so good.
Because why do people stop asking people, "What do you wanna be when you grow up?"
Ugh, so true. I love you. We need that. Because I feel like you only figure yourself out, like, around later, right? Like, you kinda just go into university thinking of what you should do. You don't really actually think, "What do I wanna do?" until about middle age, am I right?
I never had any idea, really.
Yeah.
I was having a lot of fun, though, so at least I get points in that department. I
Yes, me
wasn't
too.
but now I'm catching up on some of the adulting things, so that's been some interesting lessons, and it also showed some assumptions I had that I didn't know I had. It's amazing what we uncover when we're doing working
Yeah.
with clients, and in my case, I'm exposed to this material all the time, so a funny side effect is I find out interesting things about myself on a daily basis practically,
Yeah, no, very cool.
good and bad.
I love when I was reading a little bit about you, how you, like, it talked about how you wanna help people get what they really want, not what they think they should want. Is that something they come to you, or that's just when you start poking around, you're like, "Wait up," you know?
Well, there are 2 things. Very often people come to me and their goal is a something is about something they should want, and sometimes they actually want it, but it's almost in that relief sense. So somebody maybe who's
Mm,
been struggling with debt has hit a breaking point,
yeah,
and they come to me and they just say, "I just wanna get out of debt."
yeah.
And great, I'm absolutely gonna support that, but at the same time, let's tip it to the other side and say, what if you thought of it like building wealth or
Ooh,
financial stability in order to do like X or Y?
yeah.
Because the idea of just getting out of debt keeps you stuck thinking about debt and about the problems, and you're just trying to get to a zero set point, no debt. And there's much less inspiration in that than actually then thinking, well, if I was financially stable, then I could go for this. So I want to know right away, like, take it that one step further.
Yeah.
And actually, one thing I want to mention is all of these things are backed by science. The science in the field of people creating change in their life and accomplishing things has been dramatically changing over the last 10 years.
Mm,
So it used to be a lot of people thought coaching was just like, hey, I'm going to be a bit of a drill sergeant and you're going to be accountable to me.
mhm.
And sure, at first, there's a little bit of accountability, especially because at first, coaching is a novelty, right? So people feel that sense of, oh, I want to impress my coach. But the truth is, it's teaching people to be accountable to themselves. And in order to do that, you have to want what it is you're going towards. And that way, you're going to do the difficult things like going to 6:30 a.m. yoga.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because if you don't want it, I'm going to say, don't even bother.
Really? That's so
Yeah.
good. That's so true.
It's going to get difficult to go out of your comfort zone no matter what if it's new.
Yeah,
So
and
that's why people struggle with it.
how do you help, people break out of that, staying small or, that small mindset?
First of all, is bringing awareness to it. And you know
Yeah.
how very often people say, "Oh, I know this, but I just feel like this,"
Yeah.
right? Like think of breakups. A
Yeah.
lot of the time, if somebody's been broken up with, sometimes they're like, "I know he's a jerk or she's terrible, but I'm still really upset."
Yeah.
And now let's take away just the grief part, but down the because that's fair. Things end. All disclaimers aside, but down the line they might be able to intellectually explain why it's great that they're not with that person anymore, but they're still really devastated because they don't actually believe it deep down and internally. So that's actually something that's not connecting, it's not aligned. Their
Mhm.
feelings with what they're saying they know. So you need to figure out what are they actually thinking? And sometimes they don't want to admit it to themselves. So it's a little bit of work. They do it themselves, right? Well, I teach people the tools to do that and a coach is great for poking and prodding, going, hey, have you thought of this and that? And just getting the right questions is a huge part
Mhm.
so that then you can have alignment and be like, well, this makes sense
Mhm.
now, this
Mhm.
emotion, because I believe this. And then shifting those beliefs over time.
So, speaking of tools, what are 3 things that people can take away today to start their passion project or pick it up again if they dropped it because it was just getting too hard, um, or to do the next thing that they are afraid of?
I'm going to say, first of all, make sure you know exactly what it is what you want. Let's assume that they know
Mm.
what they want. The second thing is I'm going to say, what is the next thing you're going to do and when? Can you
Mm.
commit to that?
Mhm.
And it sounds simple, but that next thing is often very important. Sometimes people get lost so much in the big picture and the details that they don't know when to start or how to start or what to do next.
Hmm.
And a lot of the time, that's not going to be a make it or break it decision. It's about getting that momentum and building the momentum.
Awesome.
And the third thing is, I'm going to say you have to connect to what it is you want every day and
Oh, I love
imagine
that.
having done it and figure out how that feels. And if you can connect to that feeling every day, it's going to help you drive forward because it's really difficult to dip in and out of doing something that matters to you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's so good. Um, is there a passion project that you have that you'd like to share?
It's interesting, you're saying passion project, and then I was thinking about this, and it's like, well, what is it? And then I was like, well, the truth is, I want to do all of the things, everything, and I haven't yet because I don't have the time. But some examples are, well, right now my big priority is I'm growing my coaching business because I want to help as many women as possible because it absolutely thrills me.
Cool.
But then there are all the little things like, or not so little, like get a second dog. My band is going into the studio to record a 3-song EP, which I'm so
Amazing.
excited about.
Very
And 10
cool.
years ago, that would have been inconceivable because I wasn't in a band.
Yeah.
I want to spend more time with cows.
Yeah.
And destroying patriarchy is kind of a big one. I'm going to need a little help on that one. But there's so many things,
Yeah.
and they
That's
are all aligned.
very cool. Very cool. Any final thoughts, advice you'd like to share?
There are no deep, wise words. There are so many memes out there, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I scroll Instagram and they're all so great and inspirational. But the truth is, then I continue on Instagram and I'm not actually doing anything productive. That whole wanting to change and
Yes.
feeling good about the idea of changing is not change.
Yes. That's awesome. That's awesome. Anything else you'd like to people to know?
It should be fun or thrilling or feel good on some level.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Because if you're suffering through it, is the end point really worth it?
Yeah.
And side note, there is no actual end point. So
Amazing. So, what are you working on now and where can people find you?
I'm growing my business
Mm.
and, destroying destroying patriarchy, all of those things. You can find me at plaidpaddle.com or follow me on Instagram. My handle is plaidpaddle, and that'll just get you easy access to all the different things I'm involved in.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Always a pleasure chatting with you. I'm going to have to get you back on another day.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'd love to come and let's dig deep on something.
So that was Stephanie Marshall from Plaid Paddle Coaching. And isn't she just the coolest? I could just hang out with her all day, every day. Um, yeah, alignment, daring, and what was the other stuff? Oh, mom brain. I've already forgotten. But thankfully, I have the podcast to come back to, and so do you. So thank you for listening today. Share it with your friends. And I will definitely be asking Stephanie back to our show. So hope you will join us. See you soon.